Hello, hello. Nice to meet you all. And I see some familiar faces here, which is always nice. I gave the same presentation at HelSec, so the previous capital of Finland, to kind of test the idea of how this will fly.
The real capital.
The real, exactly, on point. Sorry, my earring is not functioning properly with this microphone. It's okay. I'll use it like this. So, they asked me if I want a hand microphone or this kind of microphone. I end up using this as a hand microphone. Sorry for that. So I gave the same talk at HelSec just a week ago. And I thought that, yeah, I wanted to have this talk with you all as well. Because it's something that is really close to what I deal with every day. I work at HelSec as threat intelligence lead. So what we do is that we try to understand what kind of threats the actual people using internet face. And sometimes, of course, it's hard to distinguish between a person just browsing the internet, being an individual person, and a company employee, because there's not like, okay, now this person, they're just an individual person and they are not working anywhere. It doesn't work like that. So everything I say here, it of course applies not only to your mother, your grandfather, your kid, it also applies to your coworkers, to people you try to get to understand what cybersecurity means. Because when we talk about cybersecurity, I'm the kind of person who will read from Wikipedia, so one sec. I have it here as well on my phone. So what does cybersecurity mean? It means computer security, cybersecurity. Or information technology security, IT security, is the protection of computer systems and networks from attack by malicious actor that may result in unauthorized information disclosure, theft, or damage to hardware, software, or data, as well as from the disruption or misdirection of services they provide. That's quite a mouthful. I mean, but that is the dictionary, Wikipedia definition for it. But when you ask a normal person, what is cybersecurity? I think the answer is not that obvious. They're not going to say, oh, it's this protection of data from theft and misuse. What they will say is that they will actually potentially ask questions. They will be like, how to protect my social media accounts? How my ex-spouse doxed me and posted intimate pictures of me online. It will be about, is this person that I met on this dating app, for example, is it real? Are they real? Can I trust this message or email? How can I get my old videos deleted from YouTube? And this is actually something that I get asked quite often. And fortunately, we have GDPR for that. But furthermore, am I actually going to get what I ordered online? So if we look at these questions and these overall worries that people have, it's quite obvious that it's not about protection of computer systems or IT systems. It's much more personal than that. And actually the question people want to ask is that, is it safe? Is it safe to do something online? And that, of course, is much harder question to answer. When we think about this question in terms of, is it safe? And we bring in some numbers. For example, in year 2021, people lost 55.3 billion to scams worldwide. And just for context, Azerbaijan, a country with 10 million people, has the GDP of 54 billion approximately in year 2021. So we're talking about losses that amount to a size of a country of Azerbaijan. And this is, of course, we're just talking about scams. So it's kind of just one of the tips of the iceberg, if you will. So it's not even painting necessarily the whole picture of all the money that is being lost. So I think it makes a lot of sense that people are actually questioning, is it safe to do this and that online? Of course, not everyone is losing money. But we asked people how safe they feel online. And 3 out of 4 people, we asked people globally, so it's not only in Finland, but 3 out of 4 people say that they feel unsafe online. And cybersecurity is not really helping them feel any better. And I just want to have a quick show of hands, and I'll also raise my hand because I've done this before myself. But let's say that your friend or relative, someone who did not work in IT, came to you and asked, is it safe to use, let's say, WhatsApp? Have you ever said to them that, yeah, just don't use WhatsApp, use Signal instead? Can you raise a hand if you've said that? Yes, exactly. I've done that myself as well. And of course, that can apply to some people. Some people can be like, oh, okay, yeah, Signal, it has GIFs now, it has group chats, that's really great. It's kind of like WhatsApp. But the problem is that Signal is not even on the list of topmost messaging platforms used. WhatsApp is topping that list of users. After that, there's WeChat, Facebook Messenger, QQ, Snapchat, and Telegram. So when we're telling people to stop using something, we're kind of like missing the bigger picture of these people are using these messaging platforms, for example, for some specific reason. Maybe someone in their kid's school is using WhatsApp to message, and this is actually a real-life example I just got from HelSec, are messaging them over WhatsApp, telling them what their kid will have for PE, so what kind of clothes do they need to bring for PE lessons. So it's not really up to them. They, of course, like they said that, yeah, they've tried to say that, yeah, I don't want to use WhatsApp, but it's not their decision. They're kind of like forced to do that. And yeah, as I said, saying no can sometimes help, but it doesn't really help in a situation like this when something is so heavily overrepresented. And messaging platforms, for sure, are, they're one example. And it's an easier example, perhaps, because you don't necessarily get addicted to your messaging platform unless you have really intriguing chats going on and interesting stuff going on there. But you're not like, oh, I just need to check my WhatsApp. No new messages again, fuck. But for social media, that's a completely different story. Because when we talk about social media, and with social media, it's like TikTok, Twitter even, Instagram, they're not built, or how should I put it? They're built to kind of like exploit something in us, to steal our attention. And this is probably nothing new to you. And if you've listened to any of my podcasts, for example, Turvakäräjät, I mentioned this book before, but I think this is really insightful. It's economist, author, and Nir Eyal, it's down there, the name of the author. Their book called Hooked, which describes these applications or apps that are created with one thing in mind. And that thing is to create a habit that gets triggered within us. So, for example, when we feel bored, instead of picking up a book or instead of going out for a jog, we do something else. So it's kind of like tricking us into doing something even. And I'll just briefly explain what this hook model is, so how to get us hooked into this loop of a habit. So first we start with a trigger. First it starts with an external trigger. So it means that we're prompted externally. For example, there's an ad or email or our social media app, it displays some kind of message in our phone telling us to open that app and do something. So perhaps we open the app, we scroll through pictures, we do something in there. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a social media app. It can be, for example, a fitness app or any app like that. We do something in there, we get a variable reward, which means that we're getting something out of it, but we know we are getting some kind of dopamine hit, some kind of reward, but we never know quite what it will be. Will it be a funny cat picture? Will it be something that really makes us angry and engaged in that platform? We really don't know, but we get that in either case. After that, we do investment, so that means it doesn't necessarily mean money, but it can mean we spend more time on the app. We invite friends over to the app, so that means that we are already kind of like connected with the app. And once this loops enough many times, the trigger no longer has to be external. It can be internal, so it can be feeling of boredom, feeling of dissatisfaction, feeling of something missing that makes you open the app. Whether that app is a fitness app, for sure that could be a really nice habit-forming app if that were the case. But for example, all of these social media apps that are surrounding us are working like this. So once again, going back to the point of telling people not to do something, when we are surrounded by these sorts of applications that have got us hooked. And even if you're not using them, even if you're not part of TikTok fam or like you're not contributing to Instagram, it doesn't mean that someone you love wouldn't be. And it's not really, again here, like instead of saying no, I would rather try to find understanding for them and try to understand their problems. And oh yeah, here I just have written this. It's quite small, so I'll just skip through. It's basically effectively what I just described. So, from a point of view of a regular person, where does cybercrime live? It really lives everywhere in the services that we use. It lives on Facebook, it lives on Instagram, all these scam and spam messages, they're just constantly prompting us through different, no, let's not go there yet, it's spoiling my surprise. So I'll get to Habbo Hotel in a second, it's my pet peeve. But these cybercrime, it really, you can encounter it anywhere. The attempts of just like in these attention-seeking apps and email and text messages and places like this, people are constantly trying to get to us, to get us to open links, go download something, do this and that. And it's really easy to find targets in these apps that are so widely used. I don't have example of a dating app here, but how many of you have been in love? Oh no, not all of you, I'm so sorry. Okay, but those of you who have been in love, how well would you rate your judgment? Let's say if your judgment has been really bad in some cases, you've trusted someone really, like too much, raise your hand. Okay, you don't have to have been in love as well. Have you ever trusted someone too much? Okay, so many of you know the feeling. When you're in love, you're not really thinking clearly. And that combined with the fact that you don't necessarily under these dynamics, the people behind these kinds of scams. And even like increasingly, we are seeing attempts at getting to people's wallets, to their money through dating apps, which is, I think, a very sad reality we live in. And all of these, actually these scams and these attempts, they prey on the fact that we want something, we need something, we are scared of something. There is a Facebook group tagging that now administrators need to do something. It's really preying on our very primitive needs in order to get money. Now to the Habbo Hotel. How many of you have played Habbo Hotel? Oh yes, pool parties and cool stuff. I want to share a personal story because Habbo Hotel was the first place where I got scammed. It was this chair. Look at this beautiful, beautiful chair. It was not even like a flashy scam. It was just like someone promising to trade something in return of this very super cheap chair. But it was the most prized possession I had at that time in Habbo Hotel. And to this day, I still remember the fucking chair, how it looked like. So it really left an impact on me. At that point, did I understand that someone had stolen something from me? Yeah, maybe. Did I understand that that thing had some real life value? Because I had spent real money to buy this thing. Okay, it was not necessarily too much. It was just a little bit of money. But even today, I still miss that chair. It's gone forever. It's now in someone's Habbo Hotel room of stolen chairs. It's still sitting somewhere there. But the reason why I'm mentioning Habbo Hotel is that it's a very For me, it was perhaps a good lesson that I learned. But gaming and, okay, well, we can argue if Habbo Hotel is a game, but in either case, gaming is a thing that really I wanted to bring here as an example because it underlines that not everyone who falls victim to cybercrime is necessarily an old person. Because for the Facebook scam and dating scams and things like these, people tend to say or like shrug their shoulders and they're like, oh yeah, it's just like my grandfather would fall for that. But the thing is that it is not that simple, unfortunately. And here are some statistics from what we see in terms of phishing attempts. We don't know how many of these actually worked, but phishing attempts pretending to be a game platform. And down below we have Roblox, and then we have Steam. These are not just like single games. Steam is a platform where you can buy games or just download them for free, and they have a lot of games that have very competitive nature and a lot of like cosmetic items that you can sell and buy and are very integral to how the game operates, but it's not adding to anything to the actual gameplay. But they're super, super valuable. Like a knife in CS:GO can be really, really valuable. In Roblox is not one game either. It is almost kind of like a social media platform. You can create your own maps there, your worlds. You can also sell and buy stuff, so cosmetic items, for example. And the player base of Roblox is very, very young. Perhaps none of you, I don't know if any of you have played it, but perhaps someone in your family has played it, your siblings have played it. I know that mine has when they were younger. So it has a really young player base. And actually it has also, in April 2021, it had the peak player count of over 2 million per month. So we're talking also a very young and large player base. And when we bring these, I mentioned these selling and buying of stuff. In Roblox, for example, there is a currency within Roblox called Robux, but you can, like, of course, buy and sell stuff with Robux, but you can also buy and sell this stuff in Roblox and Steam both, in Steam games both, for real life money. But they still do have kind of like value inside the game. So you can't just print more knives or print more cool hats to Roblox, because they do have value because they are rare, or there's a only set number of those items available. So perhaps you see where I'm going, but in case someone gets into someone's account, it's not the account that they are interested in, it's the stuff that they're interested in. They will take the stuff, and even if the victim can get their account back, it will no longer have the stuff that they had perhaps used real life money to buy. Perhaps they used a lot of time to get some kind of challenges done or whatever to get the stuff. But we still cannot forget the fact that it is real life money transferred into these virtual assets that are being lost. And I think a really important question here to ask is that, do kids, for example, understand that they have been a victim of cybercrime in case that their account has been hacked? In some cases, perhaps. In some cases, perhaps not. And it's not just kind of adults doing this, like trying to get their hands on the accounts and the information. But for example, on TikTok, there's trends of just kids scamming other kids effectively, trying to get to their Roblox accounts, getting the money out of there and profiting out of that. Of course, there's a lot of like official and very legitimate trade happening on these marketplaces, but it has created a very interesting and unique, this underground ecosystem that supports criminal activity whenever someone wants to do this. And the problem here as well is that these kids are sharing, for example, tooling to conduct attacks against other kids. So it's very troubling, in my opinion. So what's the difference between burglary and online scam? I think one of the the biggest difference is that when you rob someone, when you want to get someone's nice TV out of their house, you need to go there physically. You need to actually have the crowbar. You need to perhaps have some strength to pry open the door, or then just figure out a way to get in. There's the problem that if you go to someone's house, well, you first of all need to leave your own house, which is not nice. Secondly, what you need to do is that you need to try to not get caught. And when you go somewhere physically, it's much harder because there's the neighbor who is watching through the windows, there's a CCTV camera, there's a lot of places where you can get caught, and it's easier to get caught effectively. But when we talk about the online world, the crowbar is actually the tools available, let's say, on GitHub, publicly available for educational purposes. And to be fair, in some cases, educational purpose is fair enough. Yeah, we should have this for educational purpose. But I do question that when we have on GitHub, for example, available these kinds of ready-made toolkits and really like 1, 2, 3 steps of how to deploy those that are targeting Roblox, let's say, directly, or Steam, or any specific service, is that? I don't know if that's educational anymore. But the problem is, of course, it's there. People can put whatever they want on GitHub, but it's publicly available there. Secondly, when we talk about cybercrime, there's also like many dimensions to it, but when you, or I'll actually preface this with a story, but in UK, late last year, there was a really big epidemic of, and still is ongoing, I believe, an epidemic of spoofed numbers calling people, pretending to be Barclays, so bank effectively, or other banks, and claiming that they need to have some transaction done immediately. And it's really trivial to use these spoofing services. I think potentially many of you have tried this in the past. You basically pay maybe 10 euros or $10 or so, and you then can spoof your phone number. It's not super flashy, it's not super Hollywood, but it gets the job done, unfortunately. Oh, and one more thing. One of these services was also taken down called iSpoof, but the problem is that even if one service is taken down, there's still plenty to be found when just simple Googling is done. And then you don't, I just wanted to also add here, because I mentioned the doxing ex-spouse, for example, at the beginning. You don't have to be a cyber criminal per se after money in order to leverage technology for malicious purposes. You can be jealous of someone, you can be envious that they forgot about you once they moved on, that you really want to keep there in your life, and it results in really extremely bad behavior. For example, downloading of stalkerware apps. It is really simple and easy. So again, like just Googling, I'm just saying Googling, but that's where people go. They will Google or look things up on TikTok or wherever, and they will find this information. And this information is really, really easy to read. It's basically just 1, 2, 3 steps, again, how to install stuff like this on someone's device so that you can track them, see where they're going, read their messages, and so on. So what I'm trying to say here is that you don't really have to be super, super tech savvy in order to conduct crime these days online. And that is, I think, something that we should all recognize. Of course, it helps that you are tech savvy. Of course, in some very specific cases or in corporate environment, it helps if you're tech savvy. But even in those cases, you don't always have to be tech savvy. Even big companies have been hacked by just social engineering tactics that anyone can employ. So you don't really have to be tech savvy, which is the sad part, that this is becoming really easy to conduct. And again, thinking about the numbers, the amount of money that is being lost to scams, it's just, as I said, a tip of one iceberg, but then we have all the ransomware and other activities, fraud and whatnot. And I'm coming back to this, that 3 out of 4 people say they feel unsafe online. And I think it's, to be honest, this makes me a little bit sad, because of course this means people that we love and work with, and people not necessarily dealing with hacking or cybercrime every day, they are not feeling safe. And maybe we are not feeling safe either, I don't know. But they feel like they're missing something. And I'm wondering, like, where have we gone wrong? Because we have these devices, we've had these for a long time. It's basically the same thing as here. We have transistors, we have, like, it's just better and more powerful these days. And at some point it became mainstream, but we still kind of treat them as something very special, even though they are everyday life for people around us. And to some people, to be honest, they hate these things. They hate computers. They hate the computers like with all their life. But they need to use them for the work, in order to socialize with people, for dating, for any kind of activity, to be honest, today. And I'm worried that now that these devices, these machines, computers, they have become mainstream, are the people who actually need cybersecurity getting any cybersecurity? That's it from me. Thank you. So if you have any questions, then we can have a couple of those, and then I'll be around here. So if you need anything from me, I'll just hang around, and you can come talk to me privately. I think here is a hand up.
Okay, so one comment, I think. Do you consider yourself to be a victim of cyber criminal if someone is hacking a game that you are playing and you get killed in it by the person using a hack, for example, in Tarkov or somewhere else, in a shooter, for example?
To be honest, if that game was competitive and if I was playing it seriously, I wouldn't say necessarily crime, but definitely foul play. I wouldn't necessarily put them to jail, but I would show them the naughty finger.
What if you think about it in a way that, for example, in a game like Tarkov, you can lose gear worth of hundreds of dollars or euros?
Now I see where you're getting. Sorry, I've not played Tarkov, but I know it's kind of like the circle game and those. So you spend money. You can spend money. You don't have to spend, but you spend money in the game in order to get better equipment. But in case someone kills you, you will lose all that equipment. In that case, I think borderline actually, because you have spent money in the game.
Or time.
Or time, of course. But you have spent, it's easier when we talk about crime, it's just easier to associate it with money. But of course, like emotional investment and time is it doesn't have to be money in order for it to hurt, right? That's what I want to underline here. But and if you think about like Tarkov or any competitive game, there have been in even like esports events, people have tried to cheat, and now they have not been labeled as cyber criminals, but they for sure have been banned from the event. So it's not good conduct. And with Tarkov, I'll have to think about this because it's a very interesting example. I just don't play games like that myself, but it's and I didn't know that in Tarkov you can actually buy stuff for like guns and.
Well, you know, people get things around and they find websites where they can pay money for someone to drop you gear or something
Okay, like this. Okay,
but,
I see you.
It doesn't, in that sense, I think, in my opinion, it doesn't matter how you get the gear yourself, but I think that it matters in a sense that you spend your own time and maybe money, and then someone is unfairly taking that from you. It's like maybe in a competitive game like chess, for example, you are competing for 1,000 euros.
Yeah.
And in a normal game, you don't, well, you lose the prize, basically.
Yeah.
But if someone is using a cheat, for example, to win you over, would you consider that a criminal act in a sense, if it was like a one-on-one agreement that you play a game?
I'll have to think about that. I'll think about, because of course, like I'll have to highlight, I'm not from the police, or I'm not a lawyer, but but it's a really interesting question, and thank you for the question, because for sure it is unethical, and hacking in games, especially with competitive and money involved, it's kind of like using doping in a sense. So I don't know if doping is potentially illegal. So let's go with that. Yes.
Funnily enough, my career in cybersecurity was kickstarted by getting frised in Habbo Hotel and losing like 500 euros worth of stuff in there.
Shit, yeah, that's...
Yeah.
I feel you, bro.
But I wonder how many other people here have had similar experiences in their childhood. Like, it seems pretty common nowadays.
At least quite a lot of people played Habbo Hotel, so I think there could be some sore memories. In front.
Thanks, Laura, for the interesting presentation. You mentioned the, well, I've been thinking about the role of offensive security in the security, and big fan of offensive security myself. I have to say that this shit's pretty fucked, yo, because we develop malware. Well, we legally develop malware and we install it on our client systems, and then we say that, well, it was just a malware developed by us. But this brings the question, you showed the phishing things on GitHub. I think it's better to have them available to everyone than to just have them available on some dark web website. Or is this really the best model? Do you have any ideas about this?
To be honest, I don't think that there are a lot of options to this, because if this was not on GitHub, it would be on some Telegram or Discord channel, and then it would not be that publicly available, of course, but it would be available still to the people that really want to look for it. And I, like, coming from offensive security background, I do see immense absolute value. I've hacked on TV. I think it's really important that we share this knowledge and information. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, at least personally, it feels weird that there are tools that are for educational purpose, but they're actually solely made for targeting Roblox users. And maybe there is some educational aspect of it, but I think it's completely different than compared, for example, attacking corporate systems with malware or with different techniques in order to find ways we can make those more secure. Because are these people targeting other Roblox users and they're like, hey, I hacked into your account, here's how to set a better password for yourself? I doubt. I hope, but I doubt. I think, should we call it a day? Is there HelSec people here? Oh, there. Okay. So thank you once more.